All right, good morning. December 16th, 2022. A chilly morning for this part of the world. And we're hearing that we're going to get into the low 20s in a few days. That's cold for here. We're hearing a lot of strange things on the news, as I've been telling you, and I still cannot figure out what is going on. The roosters are crowing. I'm going to give you an old saying that I've heard all my life. This comes from the 1800s or possibly before. Don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see yourself. This is extremely relevant today with what's going on. If you need to think that way, because there's a lot of disinformation out there. There is a cabal of people out there putting out lies. They're under the instruction of Satan himself. Satan is the father of all lies, as Yeshua, Jesus, said in the Bible. Satan is the father of lies. Don't need to get all bent out of shape about it. Just realize a good liar can confuse everybody. Alright, I have gone back and looked at some of my videos. I've been making some archery videos about gap shooting compared to instinctive shooting. And looking back at my videos, I kind of realized that it's very difficult to explain the difference between the two. I did my best. But what I didn't say, I did in one of them said I prefer gap. I can shoot very well either way, or very well for me. But I thought of another way of saying it. If I had one shot for my life, or for the life of one of my family members, that I had to hit it, or either I would die if I didn't, which one would I use? Would I use gap, or would I use instinctive? Evidently I have to clarify it a little bit, because if I had to shoot real fast, like it's either do or die right now, there's not going to be any kind of method used. It's going to be grip it and rip it, as they say. Or let her rip tater chip is one of the sayings that some of my golfing buddies used to say. But if I had time to aim for my life, at this point, and I may change by the way, but at this point, I would say gap. You can't miss very much with gap, because you're actually putting the point of your arrow, using that as your aiming instrument, as if it were the sight at the end of a pistol. If it was for my life, I would probably use gap. Not gonna miss much with gap. You're just not gonna miss much. But it is possible with instinctive to miss a pretty good bit, depending on the circumstances. But like I said, if I just have to go quick, like, you know, I got to shoot now, well, I'm not sure what it would be. Probably instinctive, because you don't have time to even figure it out. But for my life, it's going to be gap. Let's see if I live or die. My head out of the way a little bit. I live to shoot another day. Now, let's do one here where I do not have time. The person has drawn a pistol on me. I only get one split second to do or die. Just pull it back and, like I said, let her rip tater chip. And if I did that, I would hold it. There ain't no telling how I would hold it. I'd probably grab the way I've been doing my whole life, which is 3-finger. I mean a split finger. But I'm just going to assume I've got my hand on the bow, and I got about 1/10 of a second to shoot. All right, I missed because the arrow fell off the shelf. I missed quite a bit. All right, back to gap. I'm gonna have to, there was two of these enemies, 2 of these Nephilim, and I'm gonna have to shoot again. And I've got time. Take a picture of those. All right, that's 2 gap shots. The third one up there on the left, that's the one where I did a snapshot and the arrow fell off the shelf. All right, now, why would I not use instinctive? Well, I'm going to tell you the ultimate instinctive. The ultimate instinctive weapon, in my opinion, let me grab my arrows just a minute. I don't like not having an arrow in my hand. Those were 2 good shots. All right, the ultimate instinctive weapon, in my opinion, and this came to my brain this morning while I was trying to think about what I was going to talk about, is the sling that was used in ancient times to throw rocks. I guess the most famous slinger was King David when he was a boy, teenager, when he came up against the giant Goliath. You know, Goliath was probably a Nephilim, or had Nephilim blood. Goliath had 6 fingers and 6 toes. There was something different about that guy. Oh, and another thing, now that I'm thinking about it, I heard, you know, the famous idea that the Indians greeted each other like this, how, you know, they have it in the movie that they raised their hand. Somebody told me one time, or that what they were doing was showing a person that they met that they were human. They weren't Nephilim. Because apparently the Nephilim had 6 fingers and 6 toes. So when you greeted somebody, they wanted to see your hand, so they both raised their hand. And if a guy wouldn't raise his hand, he's probably hiding something. That may or may not be true. That's a little sideline. But when you're slinging a rock with this sling thing, and you have to let go of one of the 2 strings so the rock can go, that's pure instinctive, because there's no way this thing's going around your head fast enough. You cannot look at the rock spinning around. It's impossible. So you're going to have to look at the target. It's pure instinctive, much like a pitcher would throw a baseball. Pitcher's not going to look at the ball. He's going to look at that catcher's mitt and throw it. There's no other way to throw a sling but instinctively. I'm going to have to move that pie plate because the sun is shining on it and it's blinding my eyes. Maybe that'll do it. Now, if there ever was a man that trusted God as much as you can trust God, it would have been King David, especially at that stage of his life. He trusted God so much that he was able to say, when they asked for volunteers to go up against Goliath, none of the men of war wanted to do it. Goliath was out there challenging them day by day. Let's fight. If I kill your man, you'll be our slaves. If your man kills us, we'll be your slaves. That's what war was about back in those old days. Whoever won lorded over the other side, and they did their bidding. They paid them tribute. They did everything they said. Right in the heart. Of course, I'm close now. I'm not going to act like I'm 100 yards away. So why don't I use that same reasoning to say, okay, I'll just be instinctive, and if I had to fight, if I had to shoot for my life, instinctive would be you don't look at your arrow or weapon with your primary vision. You look at it with your secondary or peripheral vision. I'm going to shoot one, if I can, with instinctive. I'm going to pull it to exactly the same place, but I'm going to try my best not to look at the tip of that arrow or focus on it. Okay, I did, just for the tiniest amount of time, I did look back at the arrow. I almost can't help it. It takes a great deal of concentration because the tip of that arrow is right there in front of your face. It's almost human nature to second guess yourself. I'm going to try again. I hit the heart that time. I did not look at the arrow that time. That's instinctive. I say I didn't look at it. I didn't take my eyes off the heart or the target to refocus my vision back to the arrow. I didn't do that, and I shot better. The time before that, you can see I missed. I shot a little low. That's pure instinctive. So if I was shooting for my life, I'm pretty sure I would choose the gap method, because I can know that I'm going to get very close. A man that does instinctive correctly, that's well practiced, that can resist taking his eye off of the target, I believe he's probably going to be hard to beat. But I have trouble doing that on a consistent basis because I don't trust God enough, let's say that. If I was there when they were faced up against Goliath, I probably would have been one of those guys that just kept my mouth shut when they asked for volunteers to go kill Goliath. I don't have that much faith. And Yeshua told his disciples over and over again, when they got scared, whenever they couldn't cast out a demon or whatever their problem was, he would say this, "O ye of little faith." Another way to say that is, Jesus was telling them, if you had faith, he said, even as a mustard seed, a tiny bit of faith, you could move a mountain. You could say to a mountain, move over to this thing. Now, I don't think that was a literal mountain. The mountain was the big problem you had that you couldn't solve. So I count myself among those that he would have said, "O ye of little faith." I wish I had more faith. I probably do have more than some people, and I have some less, probably have less than other people. But yes, I get scared, and I have to regroup my thinking and say, okay, God's got my back. He made promises. They're good. You know, get your thinking straight. He's looking after you. All things work together for good for those that love God. But at this point in my life, if I had to choose between the gap method and instinctive, I believe I would choose the gap method to hunt with, or to slay a Nephilim if I am ever called on to do that. and to hunt. I want to get an arrow in that animal. Okay. That's the way that I'm looking at it this morning. But I'll tell you this, I like to shoot instinctive. I do it. I'll go through several days where I go back to instinctive and I enjoy it. But if somebody walked up and gave me that challenge, one shot for your life, I think I'd probably use the gap method. All right, I hope this was enjoyable, and my way of looking at how to, the difference between the gap method and the instinctive method. And so this is Gardener Israel, and I hope I get to talk to you again.